He said, yes, I do. I said, okay, let's go get something back on before it falls off. All right. I'll just keep writing yes, but blood, connective tissue. Yep. All right, we could keep going. Right. There are a whole lot of things that make these the same. Right? Very much the same. We could keep going. Right? We could get into different kind of particles and nutrients and all sorts of things that make them up. Now, what makes them different?
Different functions.
Functions, to me, the most obvious one, right? My hand doesn't exactly do what an ear does, right? And why did I say exactly? Sometimes people who are, it can help. What'd you say? But sometimes people might be deaf and their ears not function and they can communicate with their hands, right? If you communicate with their hands, they can understand what you're saying. It's not the same, right?
Let your hands clean your ears.
Okay. One needs the other sometimes, right? Location. All right, if you had a foot coming out of the side of your head, it'd be a little weird. Not judging anybody if you know somebody has a foot coming out of the side of the head, but it'd be a little different, a little awkward. I have seen people walk on their hands, right? Sometimes that happens. But that's not how it's designed, right? That's not functioning the way God designed it. So I put all this up here. If we were to name and get even more in detail of all the things that make them the same, I would venture to say that the list of what makes them the same is much longer than the list that makes them different. Okay? Doesn't mean they're the same. Doesn't mean they have the same jobs. Doesn't mean they have the same ability to do the same things. But think about all the similarities that we've already laid out and more than we could. And I want you to kind of think through that as we go through these verses a little bit, because, as we look around the room, there's a lot more that makes us similar than what makes us different. And I think that's a really neat thing. There are some big differences. And you look around the room, we're different heights, we're different sizes, we're different shapes, we're different colors, we're different ages, right? All those things, sure, are there. And then you can look a little deeper into the talents and the abilities that we have. Some can sing, some of you can't. Okay, all right. Some of you can strike up a conversation at the drop of a hat and no problem, and make people feel just warm and welcome, super easy. Some of you, that might be a little awkward. That's okay. We could keep going. We could keep going on that. Some of you are really great at writing letters and connecting with people that way and making them feel loved and supported and missed. Some of you, have trouble writing your own name down. Right? That's me. I was writing something this morning. I was like, when's the last time I actually wrote something? We're just in a day and age where everything's on computers now. So there's all sorts of different things there. And I wanted to kind of frame that as we talk through this, because, verse 14, as we said, the body does not consist of one member, but many. If the foot should say, I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, that would not make it any less part of the body. If the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I don't belong to the body, that would make it any less part of the body. Now, as we consider these spiritual gifts, and then as we consider our own abilities and gifts when it comes to serving God, if God had allowed the people in this time to choose their spiritual gift, what do you think would have happened?
There would have been an abundance of people doing one thing and no people doing some other things, and things would have fallen through the cracks. They wouldn't have achieved all of the goals that they had.
Yeah. So that again?
The body would be deformed.
Yeah. Too much emphasis, too much focus on one area, one thing.
Ego and power struggle.
Yeah. Big ego and power struggle. Jealousy. If you could pick one superhero trait, what would it be? Just curious. Who wants to fly? All right, we got a few that want to fly. Super strength. X-ray vision. Oh, we got one. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. See through walls. The little lasers out of the eyes? I don't know. Alright. Looks like we got a lot of people who are flying.
At my age, I just wish I would remember.
Okay, super memory, we'll take that one.
I was thinking more good vision.
Okay, supervision, okay. Maybe not x-ray, but super, I can see stuff far away, right? Yeah, you know, we'd have a lot of people flying, a few people who could see really well or remember things, and then a bunch who couldn't do other things, so stuff wouldn't get done, right? Certain things that need to be done wouldn't get done. You know, I think that's one of the neat things when you watch superhero movies, all the different, you know, abilities they have, and oh, how cool is that? How cool is that? It's all neat. And, you know, you watch it, and this is where I get real nerdy. You watch an X-Men movie, right? They don't actually win and defeat the bad guy until they all work together, right? Until, you know, Cyclops does his thing, and this guy does his thing, and this person does his thing, and Storm makes it rain, and all sorts of things, right? Until they work together, it doesn't happen. They don't achieve the goal that it is that we're searching for and that they're trying to accomplish. Same thing for us. It's no different. And so if we want to be our strongest, what we have to do is embrace that. Embrace the things that we can do and focus in on that and not expect to be able to do everything everybody else can do. You know, I want to ask kind of a few just kind of questions here to kind of drive this discussion a little bit. You know, the first one's real simple. What stands out to you as we read chapter 12? Just what stands out to you? It might be something different for everybody.
Big emphasis on one body.
Okay.
He mentions that a number of times.
That's mentioned a number of times, and so if you're taking this chapter and you're funneling it down, I do think that's a great place to start. It's one body, and if you don't have that one body, you've already messed up.
It's working together.
It's working together. Okay. What is the one body for us?
The church.
The church. Okay. So, I'm trying to think how I want to ask this. There's a lot of people around town meeting this morning in an effort to worship God. Is every one of those churches, congregations, places that are worshiping all one body?
They probably think they're one body. I don't think necessarily they're all God's body.
Okay. I think that's a good way of putting it. I think if you were to go around and ask the majority, we'll just say the Christian gatherings this morning, that you would get a pretty consistent, yeah, we're all of God, right? We're all following Jesus. Yes. Okay. If that's the case, shouldn't our actions, our worship, the things that we're doing pretty much look the same? Right? If we're following God, then we've got a pretty clear example of what it is that we are to do, how it is we're to conduct ourselves in worship, the things we are supposed to do while we are here together, the actual teachings that are occurring. And if there's differences in those, are we all one body?
This parallel Paul is using here is the human body. If we have a part, obviously wrong, we try to attend to that.
Can I finish out the chapter, please?
And the eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. No, much rather, these members of the body which seem to be weaker are necessary. Are those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, on these we bestow greater honor, and on our unpresentable parts have greater modesty, but our presentable parts have no need. But God composed the body, having given greater honor to that part which lacks it, that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care for one another. And if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. Or if one member is honored, all the members rejoice with it.
We'll stop there. Thank you. Okay. So as John pointed out, there's togetherness that has to happen. If it doesn't happen, there's a problem, right? Are all the members always treated the same?
No, and are all the members always at their best?
Are they?
No. Because if they're suffering, they're not at their best. Now, that could be intentional or could it be unintentional?
Why wouldn't we always treat every member the same?
People are people.
Okay? People are different. People are people. Why else? If they're different, they have different needs. Anybody in here ever broken a bone? All right? That hurts. That's not fun. If you broke your arm and you went to the doctor and you said, all right, doc, my arm really hurts. He said, well, let's look at your foot. Let's look at your back. Let's check out this. Let's check it. I really like telling me my arm is not shaped the way it's supposed to, doc. Can we please focus on that? I got another rugby story for that one, trust me. Guy came out of the game and said, can I keep playing? And his arm was curved. Well, usually that's straight. So I'm going to go with no. Mentality of rugby players. Sometimes things need more focus, right? Let's just say, think of a Christian you have really looked up to. And I mean, for whatever reason. They had it all together. They had the ability to teach, lead singing, pray well, engage with one another, super kind, super humble, all just the perfect thing, right? If as a congregation we spend all of our time focusing on that individual who, for lack of a better term, has already got it all figured out, then what's happening to the one who's broken and hurt and damaged and dealing with loss, going through a time when they might be broken and healing? I think that was a really good thing that came out of this chapter for me, more so than usual. You know how it is. You read these verses 1,000 times and you pull different things out of them. So often I read this and I think, yeah, we're all different. We all have different jobs to do. Cool. All right, no problem. You do this, I'll do that. You do this, I'll do that. Fine. But as you read through this, there's a bigger emphasis, I think, than I had realized in the past on focusing in on those who may not be as strong, who may be going through challenges, who may need a little bit of help. As he says here in verse 23, those parts of the body that we think less honorable, we bestow a greater honor. And our unpresentable parts are treated with greater modesty. Verse 24 says, which our more presentable parts do not require, but God has so composed the body, giving greater honor to the part that lacked it. What does it mean to give greater honor to the part that lacked it? More attention? Yeah. How do we do a good job of this? How do we do a good job of ensuring that we give more attention to the areas of the body that might be weaker?
We have to know those and we have to watch out for them.
Number one is you have to know them. I can't help your broken hand if I have no idea it's broken. All right. What are some indications of a broken body part? It doesn't function the way it's supposed to, right? It's shaped a little different. It hurts, right? All these sort of things. So aren't there going to be signs and symptoms if we are broken? Yes?
I think, too, we have to keep in mind that sometimes we see our sin and we think, well, that's not as bad as their sin. Or they have a greater burden to bear, and that's not as bad as what mine is. So we kind of, without maybe even sometimes realizing, judging people based on their circumstances. Whereas if maybe we just showed some compassion and it doesn't matter what it is they're going through. Maybe they're going through a greater thing at this point in their life than they did 10 years ago. But maybe 10 years ago you were going through a greater problem. So I think it's something we need to keep in mind, that no matter what it is they're going through, that how would we want to be treated if we were going through the same thing?
Absolutely. That's a perfect way of putting it. How would I want to be treated going through this? There's a couple different traps there, and you pointed out one very good, is that, yeah, I might have some sin in my life, but boy, whew, theirs is really bad. Like, yeah, I mean, I get a little greedy sometimes. I get a little envious sometimes. But boy, they're an alcoholic. Or they're this or they're that. Right? So then you're already considering yourself at a higher level than you should, right? And you're assuming that you, your, whatever part it is that you fulfill is better off than theirs is. It's not. Sin separates us from God regardless of the severity of it, if you will. The flip side of that could be the case as well. My sin is so bad. My sin is so bad that nobody would possibly understand or forgive me, or I couldn't possibly tell somebody because they wouldn't understand and they would judge me, and woe is me, I just need to sit over here in a corner and just kind of be quiet and hope nobody notices. All right. That's not the good route either. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help your ability to fulfill your job as a Christian. That's not going to help you help others, right? Part of our job as brothers and sisters is to elevate one another. If I am so focused on my own shortcomings and not addressing those, then how am I going to be able to help anybody else? Great point.
I think it's also important to have standards. For
Okay.
example, if you wouldn't know that a hand is not functioning properly or is broken if you didn't know what a hand is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to do. You know, it's supposed to, each hand is supposed to have 5 fingers. They're arranged this way. They've got this many joints. They're straight. You know, you could be missing a finger if you didn't know that a hand is supposed to have 5 fingers. You wouldn't know that anything's wrong. And so I think looking at all of the different functions of a church family, of a Christian in general, we have to look to the scriptures and to God for standards on those things so that we can know if something's broken, know if something's not the way that it should be, and then we can remedy it.
So to Jackie's point, first you gotta know one another. You've got to know them well enough to know when something's off. Right? If you know them well enough to know something's off, then you have a place to go to address, to meet them where they are. Now, there's one thing to know if something's off with them, but then there's another to know if something's off from the standard that God has laid out. This is what it means to be a Christian. This is what it looks like. This is how a Christian acts. If you see me in public and I am acting in a very non-Christian manner, right? Whether it be my actions or my language or my subject matters I talk about or how I treat somebody else or I'm kicking a dog or like whatever, right? I don't advocate kicking dogs, by the way. I love dogs. But if I do those things, you would say, all right, that's outside of what I know he knows a Christian is to be. And so I need to go to him and I need to speak to him. Other ways. So we've got understand what, know that person. We've got know what the standard is.
So we have to act like a family, which we are,
Okay.
and pay attention to who leaves early, who doesn't come.
Okay.
It's not only the elder's position to pay attention to people's attendance. It's everyone around. I mean, we all sit in the same places. We know who's not sitting by you.
Yep.
Call them up.
Yeah.
You know, get engaged. Tell them we miss you.
Yeah.
Send them a card. Send them an email.
Act like a family.
Send them a message.
There's a lot of different ways to communicate these days. Use one of them. We were at a funeral a couple of weeks ago, and there was one cousin that wasn't there, right, Steph? And the question was, where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? Right? We missed them, right? They're all here. We're all here. And so we asked, and then we were able to understand, well, they had some conflicts and this and that, you know, young child, long child, just didn't work. Okay. We know they're okay. We know things are good. We checked on them, right? No different here, right? If somebody's not here consistently, we've talked about it a lot on how, you know, we kind of get in our own little routine. We go to our own spot, we sit, but we know who's usually around us, right? And we know that if on that third or fourth row, John and Jackie aren't there, like, wait a minute, where's John and Jackie at?
Did
Right?
they say they were traveling?
Yeah. Are they in Africa again? Like, what are we doing here? We'll ask. we'll know, oh, they're traveling, they're safe, they're, okay, cool, great. But if that question was asked and, no, they're not traveling, they're in town, they're supposed to be here, anybody else? Let's just give them a call. Let's give them a call. We don't automatically assume they're out there sinning because we know the kind of people they are, but we're still going to check. And who knows, maybe something happened. Maybe there's a challenge that we can help with. I saw a hand over here. Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking, going on that line, but what other than attendance?
Okay.
So we look over here and we see a spiritual gift. But today in the church, what's that look like? I mean, other than attendance and knowing who's there, how can you tell? What makes, you know where I'm trying to go?
I do.
So go ahead.
Well, let me ask you a two-part question. First, why does attendance matter? Or does it?
The symptom of interest in spiritual things.
Yes. Yeah. I will probably not miss the first Thursday night football game of the year. I love football. I got nothing else going on. I'm going to be watching that. That shows my interest level, right? Because attendance is a very clear indication of interest, of engagement. Okay. Now that's not everything, as you just pointed out. There's so many other things that can give us some insight. So, to answer her question, what are some of those other things that we might utilize or can be clear indicators of the spiritual health of a brother or sister?
So again, outside activities.
Okay.
Are they involved with anybody? Do they have a support system?
Yes. I have known Christians that were here every Sunday and Wednesday, but never anywhere else that we were together. Could that be an issue? Sure. Could that not be an issue? It's possible, but should there be some conversations there? Now, we read many times in the Bible that you look at the actions of the early Christians. They were together. They were together a lot. Right? They lived together. They worshiped together. They ate together. They worked together. That was a consistent thing. Yes, ma'am. No, I want to go ahead and go. What are some of the other ways we might have an indication that someone might need some spiritual guidance or help?
Well, it goes along with what Jackie said of knowing everyone. What you asked, what stood out in this thing.
Yes, ma'am.
What I see a lot is I have no need of you. So if there's someone, and I would say we probably have all, whether we thought it this way or not, ever thought of someone that's at church is like, if they weren't here, I don't think anyone would know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is not a good thing. Like, if we're thinking, I mean, we wouldn't say that about my friend, my foot disappeared, well, what point would that be? But if we don't know them enough, and because there are more not secret roles, but behind the scene roles
Yeah.
and more in front roles, just because you may not see them doing what you would do, because my foot isn't going to do what my head is doing, my hand isn't going to do what my fingers are doing.
Okay.
I thought those related. We need to know them to know what their role is off, not that our role is off with them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
If we show up and our preacher isn't here, would we all notice? Come time for the sermon, we're all looking around like, Andy, hello? You got, we all be like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Who's doing this? That would be a big glaring thing. Somebody that has one of those, like you said, behind the scenes roles, would you notice? At work, I've given work analogies a lot. There are times when I have lost a team member. That sounds terrible. We didn't miss them. Nothing was impacted. The job went on. Everything continued. That is never the case here. Absolutely never the case here. If somebody's gone, we're weaker. Period. Yes.
As far as knowing one another in the congregation, there's one thing that I think impacts that. Doesn't make it right, but it impacts that. Back at this time in the first century, the congregation kind of all lived together in the same general area, and we got people that are driving half hour, 45 minutes, an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And on a day-to-day basis, you just don't see one another.
Yeah.
And rightly or wrongly, that does make a difference in how well we do and can know each other. Like I said, it doesn't make it right,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a fact.
It does make a difference. You know, having had the opportunity myself to work with several Christians is an encouraging thing. You know, when I go into a meeting at work and I see Audrey or Adam or one of these, that's cool. That's encouraging. And Adam talked about that a lot. Abilities to work with fellow Christians is a good thing. You know, there was a time in our life when we were here quite often. We were at school quite often. Cooper's second grade teacher was Due Ann Francis. That was cool. You know, and you had all these interactions. You know, we were on sports teams with Miles, Dalthit. You know, yeah, that's a really cool thing to be able to spend that time together. And think about the growth that you have with one another, and how that happens. You can't get to know somebody if you don't spend time with them. You just can't. I mean, you can go on Facebook and get the highlights, but you can't get to know somebody without spending time with them.
We have to be pretty purposeful with people that are not attending well or who, I mean, I think you have to look for them.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen automatically because they're sort of sliding out.
And I'll pick on you in the nicest way. You're regularly giving out birthday cards and things to recognize people. So you can't do that unless you see them, right? So
No.
you're looking for people.
Well, and it just helps me because I'll see a name and I'll say, John, who is
We wrote a birthday card, and so, again, you have to.
It helps me.
Yeah, pull up the directory. We take a look at faces. Look, Gary and I, we stand in the back, good bed to greet visitors and get to know them. And hey, you know, this person's been here. What's their name again? And we'll go look back through old emails or get on Facebook and do a quick stalk. Oh yeah. So yeah, there's all sorts of different ways to figure that out. But you know, again, to that point, if you're not looking, if you're not making a dedicated effort to do this, it's easy for it to fall to the wayside. It's easy for us to just get here, sing, pray, you know, take the Lord's Supper. Okay, we did the things and we leave. There's so much more to it. And if you're not spending time with people, and if you're not looking for them, you'll miss out on those that are weaker. And then how is it that we're going to be able to give more honor to those who are weaker if we don't even know who they are? Don't have that insight into them.
Logan, that goes hand in hand. There's an underlying message here that every part of the body has a function and a role. I mean, and it all has to perform. And nobody gets a pass. The hand didn't get a pass. If the ear's not working or doesn't want to work, that's, like you said, that's a problem. So I think we have to look at that and take stock and go, hey, am I fulfilling my role? Am I taking responsibility? Am I doing all these things that we've been talking about? Because if I'm a member of the body and I'm not doing anything, then I'm not making the body stronger.
Yeah, so you look at it twofold. One is somebody just missing altogether. Can you survive with one lung? Yeah, you're not going to win the Tour de France. You're going to be weaker, right? You're going to be impacted. Then the other is that lung that's there functioning as it's supposed to, right? If I'm a lung, but I'm only taking half a breath, I'm limiting the strength of the body as a whole. Yes, ma'am.
If you break your arm, we have a responsibility ourselves. If we break our arm's hurting, it tells us we have a problem. We're supposed to confess our trespasses to one another. So if we're hurting and we're struggling, and I don't think we're very good at that. We expect everybody just to recognize it or whatever, and we don't want to share our failings or our struggles or talk about the unpleasant things in our lives. And I think so responsibility lies on us too if we're struggling. It's not me. I have to figure out what's wrong with you.
Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not.
Right.
All right, I've had surgery on my right shoulder. It was obvious that I had a big sling and all sorts of things going on there. I taught myself real quick how to eat with my left hand. All right, because I like to eat, and I was hungry. But there was still a job that had to get done. Guess what? Another body part took over for a period, right, until that one could get stronger. That's an important thing as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Actually, is,
Say it better than I did.
but the overall focus is that one body. So we also can't say, well, I'm not a foot, so good luck,
Yeah.
You know, if.
Oh, we're not gonna walk anymore.
Right, if my
We're
foot's
gonna-
not working,
Not gonna get
my
anywhere.
arms are gonna help with a crutch, or
Yeah.
the other leg's gonna take over. So, you know, if we don't have a preacher, you were saying like, well, who's gonna step up there? Well, you may not be the best preacher, but we have a need filled then, you know, or out of a teacher. I'm not a great teacher, but I'll step in, you know, we have to look at that point, it's, well, not at any point, it's not for our glory.
Yeah.
It's for the glory of the body as a whole. You step in to make the whole body function.
I gave the preacher analogy. My dad kept a sermon outlined in his Bible at all times, ready to go. He would have told you he's not a good speaker. It wasn't his talent. He was great at just interacting and getting to know people and making them feel important. But preaching wasn't his thing. But he always kept a sermon outline in his Bible. Because you never know, especially when you're traveling. I used to go over to Forest City, and do some preaching over there. And, I might also lead a song or two and a prayer and, help with the Lord's Supper because there was only like 2 or 3 men there, period. So you never know. But it's being prepared. But like you said, there's an ideal way that the body should function. That's with all parts doing everything the way it's supposed to. Doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you break a foot, sometimes one's missing, sometimes little things happen, and others do have to take over. Can we still serve God if that's the case? You better,
Yeah.
right? You better. You have to. And to that point, are there times when a congregation is maybe not whole, right? Whether it be people missing or whether it be a significant event has just hurt us. Someone passed away. Someone's going through a very difficult, challenging time. Someone is going through a divorce. There's a new illness that just popped, like whatever the case is, right? But that's why we're all there. We're there to pick each other up. We're there that even if a foot's missing, we're still going to keep moving forward. We're still going to keep moving forward towards God. And if you look at so many, that's part of why this analogy of the body is such a great one, is because there's so many different avenues that you can, and lessons to be had and learned from this. Is one, I have a function to fulfill. Let's make sure I'm filling it. My brothers and sisters have functions to fill. How can I support them in that? No matter how important my function is, there's a lot of things I'd rather give up than my eyesight. I don't want to give that up. All right, there's parts of my body I'd rather break or tear over others. Right, it's just a fact. I don't want to hurt any of them, but if that's the case, again, how am I going to continue to serve God and keep the fact that He is the most important thing, no matter what my function is, at the forefront of what it is that we're doing? Other thoughts? I want to read the last couple verses before we run out of time here. Verse 27. Now you are the body of Christ, and individually members of it. And God has appointed in the church first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then miracles, then gifts of healing, helping, administrating, and various kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly desire the higher gifts. And I will show you a still more excellent way. What are those higher gifts? It says, but earnestly desire the higher gifts.
Love.
Say that again?
Love.
Love. Okay. Any other ways you would describe the higher gifts?
What those individual things can do.
Okay. When you put them all together, what do you get? When every aspect of your body is working perfectly, you're in the best shape of your life, what is it that you can do? I can tell you some things I can do at 19 that I can't do now. Right? That's just a fact. It's a fact that I have trouble admitting. But then when I hang out with a 19-year-old, it's very easy to see. Right? And so that can kind of be the other aspect of that. The more you focus on it, the more you work on it, the more you exercise, if we're talking about our physical body, the better you are able to function in the way you need to. So the more you exercise your spiritual mind and spend time with others who are strong, the more that's going to elevate you. Yes, sir.
So looking at the other part of the other members and wanting to be that member, do your job as you are, that member that you are, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If you're an ear, be a good ear, hear well.
Yeah.
If you're that foot, be strong and hold up.
Yeah. Anybody ever had a
We gotta
turf toe
realize our
injury?
talents and then do them.
Anybody ever stubbed a toe or had a, I mean, we might not think about our pinky toe a lot, so you can smash it on that nightstand. And, oh, boy, then you can't do much without it.
And we gotta be thankful for those other parts that you go, cause there's some that I've looked at and I go, you know, I really do wish I could do that, and you can learn from them some.
Yeah.
But you have to just be thankful that they do what they do, cause we need them. And
Absolutely.
instead of being envious or jealous or wishing that was my talent.
So again, look at the roles of a Christian as a whole and the life of a Christian as we started. It's one of humility, put others first, and sometimes self-denial, and recognizing the benefit of other strengths. Okay, Wednesday, we're getting to the fun, 1 Corinthians 13. Clay Perry has agreed to teach, so give him a hard time.
Look, my dad did the same thing, he always had like 2 sermons.
Yeah.
I remember us rolling up to a church, we were traveling somewhere, there were 3 cars in the parking lot, he looked at us and said, boys, I hope you got your volunteer shoes.
Yep. He saw it before you even walked in the door.
He's like, they need preaching, I'll do the preaching, y'all can do the singing.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what I did when I found we were.
Yep. Yeah. You walk in as a manager, okay, good, I got some things for you to do. No?
He just, the preacher started doing these songs.
Oh.
He actually.
You mind if I help?
He actually stopped in the middle of the song and said, I can't do this. Do you have any?
I bet she did.
I'll do this. So I led this along, and this little old lady.
Yeah. That's funny.